Hello, this is Diné here, and in this video, I wanted to talk about the different types of loneliness that a remote worker may experience. And it's an important topic, not so much because the feeling can hinder you from having productive days, especially when those thoughts of feeling unappreciated, misunderstood, or isolated creeps in. Although there are some who feel extremely productive when they are working from home, but for many, it's more about their mental health. Because ultimately, your mental health and or your mindset is a major component of your lifestyle besides physical health and your environment. But in the end, it's all tied together. It's all connected. I know there are many who can appreciate the flexibility, autonomy, and freedom from those long commutes. But we all know that too much of a good thing can feel not so good once the feeling of loneliness gradually increases and meaningful human connections decrease. So in this video, I'll help you understand, I'll explain, I'll go through as well as address the types of loneliness that can surface as you're working from home. For some, the problem is not about productivity, it's about your mental health. We could struggle with researching how to combat loneliness, but the reality is there is no one way. Because as you'll see, there isn't one type of loneliness, because there isn't one type of person. In order to once and for all overcome loneliness, you have to know what's causing it so you can know what to resolve. Loneliness is a surface conscious conclusion of a subconscious feeling you're experiencing. So we can go spinning our heads trying to research, talk to others in an attempt to figure it out. But conquering the feeling, it's an individual journey of taking a look at what's happening subconsciously. Having an idea of what category of loneliness you fall into is a good start. Many of us are truly grateful for the invention of social media or apps that allow us to keep in touch with our loved ones by remaining digitally connected to our family, friends, our colleagues, especially if they're some distance away. Being able to interact with our colleagues online all day, having virtual meetings, but at a deeper level, feeling like there's something missing as we work in isolation. And the feeling can surface differently from one person to the next, based on whether it's rooted from a subconscious social experience, emotional unfulfillment, or psychological need. But it doesn't have to be that way. My hope is that those individuals who are working from home, feeling lonely, and feeling isolated will be able to recognize which type of loneliness you're experiencing in order to get more specific when it comes to reframing that inner dialogue that's cultivating you feeling lonely. When we hear the term loneliness, many people associate it with the term alone, perhaps because the root word lone, isn't it? So we think of alone, lonely, loneliness. But I think many people at this point realize that being alone is not equal to lonely or loneliness. Many people, even lonely people, at times notice the need for alone time. So there's a misunderstanding when it comes to understanding loneliness. It's not always about socializing or lack thereof, but it's more about what's missing. That space between perception and connection, what connection should look like, and what is actually felt. And this is not exclusive to work from home employees. who are single, who have no kids or family at home, but is sensed by remote workers who have partners, children, team members, and online communities. But the feeling that no one sees, hears, or feels what you're going through still exists. So, although your external world may not portray loneliness, your internal world exhibits a different reality. At a subconscious level, possible things could be at play, such as a sense of not belonging, not feeling safe or understood emotionally, losing your purpose or identity, not connected to your body or your feelings, your emotions, or constantly in a state of fighting because you're in this chronic stress. The remote work lifestyle can make it more challenging because some find it hard to create boundaries. Since the subconscious mind, over time, it starts blending work, home, and isolation as one setup. That random human interaction is pretty much non existing. And then there's that feeling of no longer being part of a group, being a member of a group, but an individual performer. So, which one seems to be the case for you? Knowing that much is a good starting place for you to come up with a game plan on how to conquer that feeling of loneliness. The most common form of loneliness relates to a feeling of missing out on regular social interactions or a broad social network. It's easy to recognize or identify with this type. If you notice you are missing having casual conversations or creating little inside jokes with your colleagues, if you're sensing that the interactions outside of work related topics is lacking, causing a feeling of disconnect for you, that could be another sign of social loneliness. Also, if you find yourself shying away from social events because you are just too tired or not motivated to socialize, that's another sign. Or if you notice that feeling of emptiness pops up when you're not working or feeling down at the end of a workday or on weekends, that's also an indication that you fall into this category. If these symptoms of social loneliness exist for you, it's important to note that they are indeed symptoms. Because although on the outside it appears that there's a need to be around other people or be around people more, that's not always the case. A lot of times it goes deeper than that, where the underlying subconscious need is actually to feel safe and energized when you are around people. So your inner thought process around I don't belong, I'm awkward, or people don't really want me around, those thoughts exacerbate that lonely feeling. So it's important to get to the root of the issue and shift how you're perceiving things and or how you're reacting when you're around others. Targeting those limiting beliefs by tapping into positive social memories can be a resource to connect with that part of yourself that was once there. We are not born to feel lonely. It's our nature to be social and our birthright to belong and to feel connected. By changing our inner dialogue, it can also change our thought pattern. Some individuals working from home have no shortage of people who they interact with, but experience loneliness at an emotional level. For them, it's not about how many connections they've made or how many they've had, but the loneliness is a lack of depth or a sense that none of the relationships feel emotionally intimate. This comes up when they reflect on their interactions and feel that they've all been surface level or transactional. Feeling like with all of the people that they've been conversing with, there's not one that they can share their fears, their doubts, or vulnerabilities to. They have to remain professional to the point where their emotional state gets suppressed. It feels like the emotional burden that's carried throughout the workday just gets stuffed inside. So the common theme is, even in this role where I'm meeting and I'm talking to people all day, it still feels like no one knows me. At the root, emotional loneliness may stem from early attachment patterns, or at a young age, you were told you have to deal with your emotions on your own. Your emotions are your problem. Many remote workers in leadership position take pride in feeling independent and capable of keeping their emotions at bay. But it comes with the cost of lonely feelings creeping in. Because at a subconscious deep level, there's that yearning, that longing for emotional attunement that is getting suppressed. Doing the subconscious work is an exploration to unveil that specific emotional need that needs to be tended to so you can have connections with others and or with yourself, positioning you to comfortably and safely express your vulnerabilities when you need to, allowing yourself to receive support when necessary so you can have that emotional closeness that you deserve. As existential loneliness is a type of loneliness that is strictly about your identity, your existence, your purpose here on earth. Feeling that you lack any gifts or reasoning for your life or your dharma. This feeling of loneliness has nothing to do with aloneness, but a deep sense of separation from your true essential self. Feeling like there's no meaning to your life, no purpose, constantly questioning, where is my life heading? It may feel like nothing is getting accomplished, and you feel disassociated from the results of your work. Feeling like you're just moving forward with time with no significance, unable to acknowledge any successive that you have made, or just unwilling to give any credit to the work that you've done. This existential loneliness tends to come up when there's a transition in a person's life. Say you got demoted or transitioned to another position that is not really desirable for you, and you're no longer doing the work that you were once so passionate about. Then you may feel like your new situation is just worthless because you're comparing your situation to the way it was before. Or perhaps your current situation is so overwhelming that you can't even focus on a task at hand because you're so burnt out and depleted that you have lost that connection to yourself and to your existence. So you can't recognize your true value or your true values. It creates this separation from your authentic self. So you've lost the connection to your insights and your intuition, your creative side. Doing the subconscious work directly connects to your creativity. Accessing that part of your mind connects you to your core identity outside of who you are as a worker, going beyond job titles and productivity metrics. So you can become attuned to your values and meaning of life at a deeper level. Relational loneliness, just like social loneliness, is rooted in the relationships we have with the people around us. It's that feeling that the connections we have are not satisfying us at a deep level, or there's an imbalance in the relationship. But ultimately, we're not feeling connected with our connections. Some of the things you may experience is a lack of boundaries with your family members or your partner when you're working from home. Instead of the relationship feeling more wholesome and healthy, it starts feeling more functional. In your close relationships, you start feeling emotionally unseen. And as a result, it creates tension and resentment because you're feeling like what you expected or what you expect in the relationship is not what you're getting. The pattern that tends to come up if you're experiencing relational loneliness is that you'll find yourself starting to overgive or people please in order to hold on to the relationship and maintain what little you're getting from it. Or for some, they'll emotionally withdraw because they're not getting what they feel they should be getting. There's a sort of illusion that comes into play when you're looking at your relationships. And it's hard for you to see it when you're experiencing loneliness in this way. Taking a look at your subconscious thought pattern, you'll be able to uncover if that's the case for you. Then you'll be able to nail what's at the root in order to turn things around so you can connect at a deeper emotional level. And that'll cultivate healthier dynamics in your relationships as you're creating healthy boundaries for yourself. Situational loneliness is based off of there being some sort of shift in your life where your circumstances has changed. In this case, it doesn't come from a long-standing pattern, but rooted in the fact that your nervous system isn't adapting well to your new situation or the new environment. So that feeling of loneliness arises. So it can come from you being used to being in an office outside of the home and now having to work remotely. This is a situation that happened a lot during COVID when individuals had to start working from home in order to keep things going at work while we had to remain safe and healthy. But for some, the side effects of having to work from home, being physically isolated from our coworkers, was a cost to the mental health. Situations like relocating to a new city, becoming a parent while you're working from home, are other examples of situational loneliness. With the increase of jobs becoming remote now, so many people are choosing to work remotely after having the majority of their career, their work life in the office. And this situation may turn out for some different than what they expected. And that can also cause this type of loneliness. You could work with the subconscious mind to normalize your new situation and change your perspective so your nervous system feels safe and reassured with the way things are now. It would involve anchoring new feelings in place of the lonely feelings. So you feel different, more positive, and grounded as you're transitioning or once you've transitioned. Doing the work behind the scenes to see what's going on and pinpointing what's coming up for you helps if you're experiencing situational loneliness. So you can focus on what needs to be adapted in order for you to have that reassurance in your situation as you're working from home. There's another type of loneliness similar to existential loneliness where you feel disconnected from yourself. In this case, you're disconnected from your own emotions, your bodily sensations, your inner world specifically. This one is called inner loneliness, and it's defined by how it's presented in your life, how it shows up in your life. With inner loneliness, the remote worker stays so busy, so there's no chance of that feeling of loneliness surfacing. A sense of numbness or feeling emotionally flat becomes the experience, so it's hard to connect with what your system is calling for. You lose touch with your bodily sensations and what you need physically, not knowing when the body is saying to slow down or to stop. So you fall into this cycle of chronic stress and burnout. This one gets easily overlooked, but the impact runs so deep. Doing the subconscious work to resolve this type of loneliness is extremely effective because the work directly taps into your inner world and what's happening below conscious awareness. Using tools such as guided imagery, somatic exercises, and inner child work or parts work guides you to reconnect with that wisdom within. It's already there, so it's just a matter of knowing how to access it. Doing these practices and having the experience of connecting in this way, it'll give hope and loosens up the idea that you're stuck in this situation so you can rewire the way you think, allowing you to see things differently. Having an understanding of what type of loneliness you may be experiencing is helpful because a person who's experiencing existential loneliness is not going to get results from socializing more or coaching a person who's experiencing emotional loneliness to feel grateful for surface level connections. That could be harmful and it's the wrong approach. Effectively conquering the feeling involves targeting the correct subconscious belief or thought, customizing your inner dialogue, knowing what visualization or metaphors to use to create the shift and speed up the time once one gets emotional relief and gain insight. As has been said many times over, stress is the root of all illness, and working remotely has the ability to keep your nervous system in low grade stress. When you're spending most of your time indoors, not getting fresh air, always behind the screen, not having in person interactions, losing sight of what it means to be a human being, attuned to what we naturally enjoy, what is most beneficial for us. Not being mindful, it can cause our parasympathetic nervous system to be triggered, reducing that feeling of safety within, creating that sense of uneasiness when it comes to connecting and belonging. And then there's that whole factor of not moving around enough because movement actually helps to release stress, shift things. And so you want to cultivate instead a balanced nervous system, which by nature gravitates towards connections. making combating those feelings of loneliness easy and effortless. In the end, the goal is to feel more connected, whether that's having a deeper connection with ourselves or create more meaningful relationships. Because it is our nature, we are social beings. We need to change our mindset around connection in a way that it drives our behavior more towards connecting in a positive way versus forced connections due to that fear of being lonely. Being motivated towards our goals in a positive way will create lasting change and move towards our goal of connection in a peaceful, self regulated, and with composure, affecting regulation and emotional management. I hope this video was helpful to you. Thank you for watching, and until next time, goodbye. If you'd like to explore deeper by looking subconsciously, please feel free to connect with me using my profile Calendly link, and let's work to get you feeling more connected.